Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. The YouTube AI algorithm gods are telling me I'm not working hard enough or producing enough videos or getting enough views. So I decided to post this, which is an interview I did a short time ago that many of you may have missed. I've put the links to that show host's show in the description. You should check him out. He's a little out there, but so am I, and we had a nice conversation. So check it out, friends.
Welcome to Open Your Reality, guys. If you want to know the truth about Dr. Stephen Greer, stay tight, because in this segment, I've interviewed Stephen Cambian of the Truthseekers channel, and he spills the tea on what he knows about Dr. Greer. Now, I have been following Dr. Greer for quite some time, and I do admire his intelligence and his expertise on ufology, on extraterrestrial life, and technology. And I don't know if he's a grifter or not, but that's why I brought Stephen on of the Truthseekers channel. Now, just keep in mind, Stephen takes the position of a debunker, so if you are a Stephen Greer fan, you might be disappointed with this video. But in any regard, I will probably put the long interview, the 2-hour one I did with Stephen Cambian, the full one, on Patreon. Patreon is a platform where you can support me. It's just $10 a month, and you can see videos that I do not post here. All right, with all that said, let's just get right into it. You've also made videos on Stephen Greer before. And Stephen Greer is another one of those people who sounds very intelligent when he speaks. He's a former medical doctor who gave up that career to be, I don't know, like, I don't even know exactly how you
He calls himself a disclosure advocate, I believe.
Disclosure, I was going to say.
Well, actually, he calls himself the world's foremost expert on extraterrestrial life and aliens or something like that, which is kind of weird because it's kind of like, well, there's no verifiable proof or evidence that aliens exist, so it's kind of like me saying I'm the world's foremost authority on the Easter Bunny. You know, it's just bizarre to me. And Greer is another person. Greer has made more, I think that Stephen Greer has made more money than anyone in conspiracy land and UFO land, and we can see that by his constant fundraising. He collected $500,000 and he told people it was for charity to create a free energy device. Again, free energy is a common theme among these grifters. And in the history of the world, nobody's ever produced a working, verifiable free energy device, but never mind that, by the lie. So Greer collected $500,000 for something called the Orion Project, in which he promised that he was going to produce a free energy device and give it to the world. Never produced anything. And then recently, he collected over $600,000, last I checked, to crowdfund a film about free energy. Now, this is after he's already collected $500,000 to make a free energy device, and then 10 years go by, so he hopes everybody forgot about that $500,000. He generates another $500,000 to make a film about free energy, which is, I edit video myself. I know a lot about filmmaking. You can look at his documentaries, and anybody who knows films or filmmaking or anything like that can look at his films and say that this is not a $500,000 film.
Quick pause, guys. I want to take a moment to talk about today's sponsor, Keen. Keen connects you with talented tarot card readers and astrologers, and I'll pick up the phone when I need to figure things out, like what's my next move forward. With Keen, you can speak to a psychic for as little as a minute or as long as you like. And in my experience with Keen, it's about finding one that you truly resonate with. Fortunately, Keen has hundreds of talented readers to choose from, and it only took me speaking to 3 or 4 psychics before settling on one that I felt good about. And in just a few minutes of speaking with that psychic, I received guidance on some seriously tough challenges that I was going through. These were the more pressing issues in my life, like health and finance, and well, lately, relationships too. If you want to get a reading on Keen like me, it's easy to start. All you have to do is create an account, read through the short bios of the psychics, and choose the one that you think is the best for you. Keen has talented psychics in many categories, such as life path and advice, tarot card readings, astrology readings, and more. And each reader has their own unique specialty that can provide a deeper understanding of your situation. Whatever it is you need to know, Keen has a reader that can provide clarity and insight. And you can choose to connect with phone or through text chat. And as a new customer, you can try your first 10 minutes for only $1.99. That's $99 in savings. Go to trykeen.com/openyourreality or click the link in my description to save big on your first reading. Thank you, Keen, for sponsoring this video.
Rest in peace, instead of having people gawk at him for the next 50 years. And that's how I feel about the Atacama humanoid. This was a human being that unfortunately suffered a great number of deformities and died as a child. So can we just bury that human being with dignity and respect? Or do we run to the UFO community because it happens to look like an alien and make millions of dollars off of a deformed human fetus? It shows you the level of ethics and morality of these people, you know. And interestingly, the Atacama humanoid is not the first time that people have used human remains to scam for UFO and alien dollars. We have got the Nazca mummies, where people literally stole a bunch of skeletal body parts from a tomb and glued them all together and plastered them and made them look like an alien. We've got the alien Star Child skull that Lloyd Pye made hundreds of thousands of dollars claiming was an alien skull when it wasn't. It clearly wasn't by all medical standards, and all the DNA came back 100% human. You know, it's just kind of despicable to me to use human body parts to scam people for alien story money, you know?
What is your position on UFOs and aliens? Do you believe there's a possibility that they exist? I mean, there's Roswell, and we have a lot of talk in the Sumerian tablets and various hieroglyphics that depict these alien craft. I mean, what is your belief?
Well, I think there's certainly. Well, here's what I'll tell you. I believe that there have been non-human intelligences interacting with human beings throughout our entire history. The question becomes, what are the source of those non-human intelligences? Are those demons? Are they angels? Are they, gods with a lower case that we have heard in legends? Or are they visitors from other star systems? I think there's a lot of compelling evidence for all of the above. Are they interdimensional beings from another dimension? We see these people who all communicate with very intelligent, strange beings while under the influence of DMT. Some people think DMT is a doorway to speak to non-human intelligences. I think there's a great deal of hunger for UFO and alien stories because it speaks to the human story. Throughout our whole history, there have been legends, myths, and stories of non-human intelligences interacting with us. So I think where there's smoke, there's got to be fire. I had a strange experience myself as a child. That's what got me down the rabbit hole of UFOs and aliens. But later in life, once I saw all the layers of deception that are used to create these illusions, I call them illusions of true stories. These carefully crafted deceptions that people say, oh, this story is true. More and more I believe that what I witnessed, was most likely some sort of experimental aircraft that I just wasn't familiar with or aware of. And when I was younger, I was convinced it was aliens because I saw some, ovular, circular object in the sky, no sound. I felt electricity in the air. I smelled something, which I would later find out in a high school chemistry class. What I smelled was ozone, which is a common side effect of electrical discharges. So, I don't know. I got here to try to find the truth of my own experience, and all I found was deceivers, liars, scammers, grifters, and con artists. And those are just the good guys here,
Wow. So there it is, guys. There's my interview with Stephen Cambian from the Truthseekers channel. He puts out a lot of good points about UFOs, but I still think they exist. I've made a lot of videos about them, and I'm not going to change my mind. I truly believe that alien technology has been around on this planet for as long as human civilization has been here. And it's like Stephen said in the video, where there's smoke, there's fire. And there's been a lot of smoke through the eons. But I'm curious to know your opinion. Let me know in the comment section if you believe that aliens are all just a hoax, or if they are really here. I know for me, I've seen a UFO in the sky, And I don't know if it was perhaps an advanced man craft or truly something extraterrestrial. And I was camping in upstate New York in my early 20s when I noticed this strange light in the sky, moving in a very irregular fashion, coming closer, going further away, and finally it just left. But it was hovering in the sky for about 10 minutes, and I can tell it wasn't a helicopter, it wasn't a plane. And I look in the sky very often and I see planes and helicopters, I know how they move. This was not it. And I've had other people that I trust tell me that they've seen a UFO as well. It's one of those things where we may never know the truth. Are these aliens coming from some type of faraway star system? Or are they coming from somewhere in Earth or beyond the continents, if you believe in the flat Earth theory? These are all great questions to postulate and ponder. Well, I want to thank you for joining me till the end of the video. I appreciate all you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Welcome to Open Your Reality, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chad. In this video, I'm going to be speaking with Stephen Cambian of Truthseekers. If you don't know who Stephen is, he's a longtime content creator who's very outspoken, very articulate, and has a lot of things to say about certain spiritual New Age people, like David Wilcock and Corey Goode. As a matter of fact, I think Stephen is the most knowledgeable person on David Wilcock currently in the world. But we talked for something like 3 hours a couple of days ago, and the interview happened at midnight. Stephen's a night owl like myself, and we went until almost 3 o'clock in the morning. And the interview was really just too long to put out a 2-hour plus interview, so I decided to break it up into segments. There's a main segment that I'll be putting out, but I didn't have time to edit it today, so I wanted to throw this clip out there, which is a briefer clip on AI. We talked about how AI will impact our lives in the next year, 5 years, 10 years, and potential dangers of it. So I hope you enjoy this clip, and I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who has helped support me this month on the channel. It's been amazing. And if you guys want to donate, there's a thanks button. There's also PayPal, Cash App, and Patreon. So much appreciated. And without further delay, here's the clip.
Yeah, AI is its own problem. Like I've been in computer science and very interested in computers my entire life. And I've never been concerned about AI until now, because what people don't realize is that in a very short order, literally in years, there's going to be a huge problem with people losing their employment, because soon everybody that's a driver will lose their job. And that means every driver. Truck drivers, delivery drivers, short haul, long haul, all drivers will lose their job soon. Very, very soon it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And people have I always thought, and maybe you have too, I don't have to worry about AI taking my job because I'm a creative, powerful person, and I'm creative. AI is not going to be able to do that. Oh, but it can, and it will, and it is now. And I'm aware of many content creators that are basically just puppets for an AI right now. They get the AI to make their thumbnails, they get the AI to write their scripts, and then they sit there and read the script from the AI. So it's already taking over creative jobs. And I see a lot of cultural and societal problems are going to be coming from AI. For example, the haves and the have-nots. For example, a person like you or I who lives in the United States, and we have access to all these AI tools to do all these things for us, including like you can experiment with this. You can have a free script writer. You can instead of hiring somebody to write your scripts, you can have an AI to do it for you. You can have an AI doing your graphics. You can have an AI soon. You will literally be able to type out a movie to an AI, and he will generate a film movie with photorealistic actors that appear to be real and human throughout the whole movie. It is going to be mind-blowing. Mm-hmm. But what problems I see arising is, what about people in third world, or people that don't have money or computers to access these tools? We're soon going to have two classes of humans. We're going to have AI-powered humans, and then we're going to have, Homo sapien 1.0 with no AI. Who do you think will be more successful? People with all of these advanced tools and basically machine slaves to do many things and many tasks for us, or somebody that has none of that? And so we're gonna face a lot of problems with AI. I think so anyway. But I'm hopeful that it'll create a better world, because maybe if we free ourselves from, that's the promise of robots and AI. We'd free ourselves from all this drudgery, and we can concentrate on more important things, like whatever we want,
I completely agree with you. And I try to stay abreast of the AI world as much as possible by looking at the news. And there's a lot of great videos on YouTube where people are pointing out every single day. As a matter of fact, they come out every few hours. These new AI tools will blow you away, And so just before our interview today, I was looking at one where a guy was talking about like 25 new AI tools. And I'll continue to look through them, because I find that maybe there's 8 of them I'll discard of 10, but 2 are really good. And I'm using one right now. I don't know if you saw the latest video I put out on Donald Marshall, but it was I made a story out of it, right? It is a story, but I was able to use AI to create the images to fulfill that story. And
yeah.
And then also
absolutely.
I can bring those images to life a little bit as well. So it does take a while, but
it's got a lot of potential.
Yeah,
I think it's got a lot of potential to be an incredible tool for many different people, for many different uses. What worries me is that they're going to get us hooked. One of the things that worries me also is that I'm pretty cheap. I like to live very simple and cheap. And they're going to get us hooked on all these AI tools, and we're going to all go, well, I can't live without it. So if they want $50 a month for me to be able to use this, I'm just going to have to pay it. And that's a problem. I'm a big open source person and Linux person. I think that these tools could benefit so many people that in my view, they should be free and available and open to everyone. I can show you one great example of AI. I was having a real problem, and that is I have to design a cabin, and I'm terrible at drawing, and I was just having real trouble. I thought about building a model. I thought about getting a friend who's a great sketch artist to sketch some things out for me, and finally I went to an AI. And I got some incredible designs and inspiration. I'm sharing it.
Oh yeah, let me go ahead and
you can share that. Yeah, and that's the next cabin that I'm building in the Pocono Mountains. And also, it can give me this AI tool that I use to generate this can give me infinite variations of this design. So, if I get this design and then I say, well, that's not quite what. That's not exactly quite what I wanted. It can give me all these infinite variations until I get something that I say, yes, that's the one. And I'm saying here, I'm going to break ground on this new studio. It'll be nestled in the middle of a beautiful mountain forest with nothing for miles but nature. It will likely be an amalgam of these 3 concept designs. So I had that AI churn out probably a couple hundred versions of this cabin, and I picked the 3 that most appealed to me, and I'm probably going to make this cabin be an amalgam of these 3 designs, and that's just one use. That's just one example of the tools that are available through AI.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things with the pictures I made for the story. It'll generate you 4 pictures. If you don't like them, it'll generate another 4 pictures.
Yeah.
Just keep going and going until I find.
Or you modify the prompt a little bit if you don't get quite what you want. And
exactly. And I noticed it's kind of crazy because sometimes I'd put these, like I'd write a paragraph of a prompt. And it's interesting because sometimes, there are people that have made a lot of videos talking about prompts with ChatGPT, but you really need to have your prompts dialed in specifically to produce the best result. whether
Well,
it's
I
art.
found that the longer the prompt and the more descriptive and the more precise you are, the better a job it does at delivering what exactly you want.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
but I think that these things will be improving at a rapid rate. Um, and actually, in fact, a friend of mine and I were talking about coming up with a Linux distribution that fits on a thumb drive, and you just put it in your computer and it boots, and it'll have all these AI tools to do all these different things, all right on your desktop, and maybe web connected too. But I have honestly never been too much of an early adopter, but in this case, I made exceptions. I was in Chat GPT and some of these other things as soon as they were available because I was hearing about them from computer industry friends, or, and it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the future, especially because, we've got things like Neuralink coming. So before you know it, there may be Homo sapien 2.0 that's merged with some form of artificial intelligence, and that it's an interesting concept to see what humanity may become through these tools. And essentially, I even feel like this now. Like, I know that my productivity for my show is on a level that normal people can't do it, especially normal people without access to these AI tools. But just like you were saying, if you didn't have the AI to generate those images to make that video, you would have to pay a graphic artist, or you would have to buy stock images to put in there, or whatever. And one of the things I do like is it's better than stock video or better than stock images. There's also a music video on my channel called Demons, and that was all done in AI. The whole thing was done. The music I wrote and recorded and sung, but all the video, it's all artificially intelligence generated through prompts.
I'm continually amazed by how well these AI programs work. And you know what? I used to on my, sometimes you have your browser up and you have your different tabs. Now half my tabs are AI tools, where I never had them before. Now
yeah, I'm still kind of hesitant to use them too much. I'm trying to but because like I said, I know people that, to me, that feels like they're becoming robots, and I could see their content they used to make before jumping headlong into the AI, and see their content now, and it seems a little plastic to me to sit there and read a script that was written for you by an AI and then on to the next video. It seems less human, less personable to me.
Yeah.
But what I have experimented with is when I use a script that an AI writes, and by the way, you always have to fact check it, especially you got to read through it and make sure that you know that this is giving you accurate information, because especially new events, like if you ask an AI to write an article about an event that just happened today, it'll have a hard time, but things 40 years ago, it's fully informed on. So, but I've seen some people that seem very kind of robotic to me, because they're just cranking out as much content as they can by using this thing constantly. I like to break it up. Like if I am going to use a script, I write parts of the script, but the thing will write half, and then I put in pauses to just improvise for 20 minutes or talking points. But it is interesting, and I can't wait to see what we'll be able to do with these tools in 5 or 10 years. But I think first all of these drivers are going to lose their jobs. And then a lot of people in the medical industry are going to lose their jobs, because these things are better at diagnosing illnesses than human doctors. And interestingly, they're more empathetic than a human doctor somehow, which is weird. If it's a machine, it's more empathetic than a human. It's going to infect, of course, the financial industry, because who needs a stock analyst if you've got an AI that can do that? Who needs a credit manager if you could have an AI crunch numbers of people's credit and determine risk and things like that for loaning? All of these things, it could be an apocalypse of joblessness for many, many people in the next 5 years, though.
What about lawyers? Lawyers are really not necessary.
Lawyers are going to be affected. And one of the interesting things is, somebody once asked me recently, because I was talking about this with a friend and a group of friends, and they're all like, well, yeah, we could all lose our jobs, and what can you do to defend against that? I said, learn to be an expert user of these tools. If you're an expert at using these tools, somebody's going to need you. Somebody that doesn't want to learn the tools, doesn't want to deal with, figuring them out or being, all that trial and error. So become an expert user of these tools, and you'll always be employable. And besides that, that's another issue. You take two separate individuals, like you, who are very familiar with these tools, comfortable with them and able to use them to increase your own productivity, and somebody that refuses to. Who are you going to hire? I would hire the guy that's great at the AI stuff. In fact, there's a girl, Sheila Alien. She's been on my show a couple of times. She is, when people tell me like, oh, it's AI, so it's not creative, I say, you don't get it, because this girl is an artist at massaging these things to get what she wants out of them. And her, I look at some of the stuff she does, and I'm using the same thing, and I can't do near what she could do. She is expert at massaging these things and getting exactly what she wants out of them, and getting higher quality than I've seen many, many people. So some people will become artists at interacting with these AIs. And isn't that interesting? Imagine an artist with 100 AIs that are all experts at doing 100 different things, what that person would be able to accomplish. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, the the videos they can make, the websites, the movies, the graphics, it's going to be truly mind-blowing. But I mean, right now, AI can create websites. You can just literally write a prompt, and it will create a website. You could copy websites as well.
What I've been using it for is coding. Like if I'm stuck, I do some computer programming, and if I'm stuck or I'm out of ideas, I go there and I say, write me this to do this. And then I look at the example code it provides, and sometimes it's enabled me to get past blocks that I couldn't, creative blocks, or finish a project. A few things that I couldn't finish myself, I got help from the AI. Computer programmers are all going to lose their jobs soon too, which is interesting. I've heard an estimate in 10 years we won't need computer programmers anymore. You'll just tell the AI what you want the program to do, and it'll do it.
Exactly. You don't really, even video editing, there's apps right now where people who don't even know video editing could use them to create some pretty sick looking videos.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It gives me a little bit of trepidation and anxiety, because what am I going to do to make a living when all this stuff goes down?
Well, like I said, I think you should become an expert at using these tools, and then you'll always be in demand, because you also have to remember, do you remember, I'm sure you remember when you were young and you were first starting to learn to use computers, that you had like an old aunt or an old uncle that just refused to learn to use computers. You're going to have the same kind of thing with AI. They're going to be older people that are just going to say, I'm not dealing with this. I'm not learning this. I don't care. So they're going to require somebody to help them that's an expert at it. It's just like getting your nephew to hook up your Xbox for you.
My mother refuses to use a computer. She just will not learn. She doesn't want to. She never had to in her career before. And in some ways,
that's incredible. You get through a whole life without learning to use anything on a computer. That's amazing.
She retired probably like 20 years ago, so she didn't really need computers. But everything is going online now, so I have to do everything for her, which I don't mind doing. I said, there's going to be people that are going to need people to run AIs for them. So, Well, she gave me a great idea today, because I said to her, did you like the Donald Marshall video where I did the story? And she says, yeah, it was really good. But I mean, you're going to sit there for 10 hours and actually make that video, and you're going to get a couple of thousand views and make $2 on it. And I go, I know what you're saying. It's just a lot of time, and I'm not really getting any ROI on this, and I need to make a living. And she said, why don't you offer that service to other, people? And I thought to myself, maybe there are other YouTubers out there that are producing stories where they're using stock video, or maybe they have an artist draw something for them, like you said. But now with the skill I learned to do this, I could make.
Hey, I would be interested in that. I have to produce a video on demons and demonology. And one of the things on my list to do for a long time is to get like hundreds or thousands of images of demons and devils and all that kind of stuff to splice in there, or maybe just hundreds would probably be enough. And then you just narrate the script and you put in the extra bits. So yeah, I think she's right. People would pay for that.
So what did you guys think? Did you guys enjoy Stephen? If you did, please give the video a thumbs up or comment below. And keep in mind, I'll be putting out more clips with Stephen over the next coming days. I also did an interview with the 434 channel, and I'll be putting that out as well. And I thought that was a slam dunk interview. I mean, the interviews have been really good recently. If you haven't seen the Joe Gifford interview I did yesterday, I urge you to watch it because it was very good, especially if you're into law of attraction, manifesting, and just basically trying to change your life for the better. So again, thank you to everybody who's watched thus far, and I'll see all you guys in the next one. Take care. This is technically part 3 of my interview with Stephen Cambian of Truthseekers. If you have not seen parts 1 and 2, I'll post the links in the description below. You don't need to watch it to enjoy this one. And hey, enjoy. You're a very creative person. You make music, right? I know that. You put out a video, I think just a couple weeks ago, called Stephen Cambian, A Love Story. It's like a 43-minute just music.
It's alright with me. Go out with that look in your eyes, knowing what you're gonna get.
Just different music tracks. Was that you singing the entire time?
Yeah. That's really how I started. I always wanted to be like, just a songwriter and a guy in a band. And I started that when I was, I started doing that when I was like 12 years old and I learned to play keyboards and guitar and whatever. And I was in a lot of bands in Philly and I even did some tours and opened for a lot of nationally known big acts, but it just I never got a break. And I hate people that say that, but I really feel that way. Like I couldn't get a break. And after a while you get tired of working so hard for so little money. With a band, a lot of people don't know this, but if there's a band of 4 or 5 guys, there's one guy working his butt off and there's 3 or 4 guys having a party nonstop, And I was always the guy that was doing the work and writing the songs and recording things. And I ran a recording studio in Philly. So eventually I just decided I'm just going to do this myself. I have a recording studio. I don't need to deal with other people. And, I hope I always, to me, music is the greatest form of therapy. And that album you're talking about called A Love Story is kind of a concept album about a bad love affair, because we've all had them.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't go well and you want to murder that person that you were in love with. And that's kind of what that album is largely about. And I really like the idea of concept albums. And so I've done this new series. Oh, and that's another thing. I used to hide behind band names because somebody told me that bands market and sell more than a solo singer or artist. So I hid my whole life for a long time behind all these different, monikers. And recently I just started releasing music again, and I decided I'm putting my name on it because I did all of this. I recorded it, I sung it, I wrote it. It's just me, so I shouldn't hide behind a band name.
So you play keyboard, guitar, you sing, and so you incorporate some of that in your videos.
I try to. Sometimes I use my own music, but a lot of times I'm just using Creative Commons music. A lot of people, I shouldn't take. People are saying like, "Oh, the music on your show is so great. Did you write all of that?" No, I didn't. There's Creative Commons everywhere on YouTube. You just look, search for Creative Commons, and you'll find a lot of great artists that will allow you to use their music. But
copyright
free.
But you wrote the Wacky World of Wilcox song, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah. And I sung that. Yeah.
It claims that it's all true. The aliens want to eat us. Be careful that they don't get you. It's the wacky.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of a custom.
World of Wilcox.
Yeah, and I can send it to you so you can include it here if you want. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that's one of those things I just needed it. I wanted it to be like a bad sitcom, the Wacky World of Wilcox, because everything's so wacky and weird in his world. And so, yeah, I made that music. I was going to get somebody else to sing it, but I just couldn't find somebody, so I ended up doing it. Yeah, we do a lot of weird, fun, creative stuff like that. That's why, I don't know about you, but my show for me is my greatest love and hate, because when things are going well, you love it. And I like to be challenged in life. I like to reach. And the show for me has been an incredible experience of growth and learning. Like, man, I have to get better at making music because I need not copyrighted music. And I have to get better at video editing. And now I have to write scripts for this video or that video. For a while, we were doing this thing with masks too. Like I always liked masks growing up, and I learned to make latex masks and molds and sculpt, things. And, that's very creative and challenging. But I like to keep busy and because you do it yourself. Like you have to be a one-man army to do a show and be successful at it. And you've been... Congratulations. I looked at your numbers. You're way ahead of me on the subscriber count, big time.
Well, coming up on 140,000 from 139 to 140, it's probably going to take a few months because...
everybody tells me once you get to 10,000 subscribers, it gets easier. Is that true in your experience?
It depends. If you're shadow banned, nothing gets easier. But if you're a regular channel and YouTube hasn't flagged you, I went from 500 subscribers to 50,000 in about 4 months. So you fly it right up.
Jeez, I got to start covering your topics.
Yeah. Well, a lot of my early videos, I started in 2019, and a lot of videos in 2019, they're reaching 100,000 plus views. I think I think my best video is about Babaji, and it has I haven't checked it recently, but it's probably 750,000.
I'm going to have to watch that. I have a thing for Indian yogis and gurus. And, I'm sure you saw that Netflix documentary. And, that stuff's just interesting to me.
It's very interesting. Sorry, my camera just decided. And if I put my hand here, sometimes it'll.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes you go blurry like Bigfoot. Yeah.
I'm going blurry like Bigfoot. But have you read Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda?
No.
Okay. I talk about it. It's
I should.
It was published in 1946. It was translated into many languages, millions of copies sold. That was the only book that Steve Jobs ever carried around. He was known to carry that book around and pass it out to everybody he knew.
Oh, that's interesting. I'll definitely have to get it.
Yeah, I mean, it's for someone like you. You may not believe the stories, but it's filled with incredible stories in it. So, that are really not provable, but nonetheless fascinating and inspiring. So, for those spiritual aspirants like myself, I look to them for inspiration. Sometimes I know what you're saying. I think a lot of these gurus, like we talked about, Stephen Greer, David Wilcock, and so on. It's entertaining to think that these things are possible.
Sure.
And there are some just wacky, outlandish stories in David's book. There's one where he talks about Black Jesus, about some.
I remember that one. Yeah, I have that book.
But it's I don't think I've ever heard that story. I mean, maybe he just made it up. I don't know. Now, I even made a video out of it. But when I make my videos, I don't promulgate here, this is the truth, and this is what you need to believe this.
Oh no, I checked out some of your videos, and I could see that you were just here's the story, and take from this story what you will, and I can respect that because you're not saying this is the absolute truth in the way. You're just sharing your knowledge of what you found out about each topic, and that's all you can ask from somebody. I think the problem comes when some of these people are pushing everything that they're selling as truth. You know, there's a lot of people selling, you know, Kundalini and meditation stuff. And I always laugh about the people that sell very expensive meditation courses because, you know, you can go to a Buddhist society and get 1,000 books on Buddhism and meditation for free if you pay the cost of shipping.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't know that. So these I call them like spiritual grifter gurus. They come in and they try to sell you the very same knowledge for hundreds or thousands of dollars. You know, I don't know. I grew up in Philadelphia, and there was something called the Shambhala Center, which I found at an early age. And I went there and I learned to meditate there for free. Every month they have some speaker come in and teach the Dharma or teach different meditations and talk about Buddhism or just spirituality in general. It was a very good place. And they had a huge library. And you could take any book you wanted, and you could even keep them if you let them know that you really enjoy this book and want to keep it, because then they'll just get another one sent to the library. So this information is out there. People should not, you know, I always say, be your own guru. Find spiritual teachers and mentors that are good for you. And I kind of have the Jeet Kune Do school of spirituality because I grew up Catholic, and a lot of people don't know, but I was actually almost a priest. Like I was in the seminary and everything. But eventually that didn't work for me, you know. So I found my own path, and I always say, like the Jeet Kune Do of spirituality, you know, I take that which works for me and I discard the rest. So I have sort of an amalgam going myself of Buddhism, Christianity, and even a lot of other more esoteric things. Whatever I find helpful from a spiritual perspective, I can incorporate in, you know. I try to read different spiritual texts so that I'm, you know, you get a broad range of things. I keep trying to get through the Bhagavad Gita lately, but it's just tough to get through that thing, you know?
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say, I was curious to know your opinion on the whole flat Earth thing. I don't know if we have time to go into it, but just real quickly, do you see any evidence that the Earth could be flat, or do you prescribe to the globe Earth theory? Or
yeah, I don't know, man. I haven't been to space, but I've been on a very high altitude airplane and saw the curvature of the Earth with my own eyes. And I kind of am amused by flat Earth people, especially when they spend all this money to try to prove the Earth is flat, and then they find out that their experiment shows it's not. And they, you know, I think people are so jaded from so many years of being lied to by the media and manipulated that they latch onto these things, and it becomes sort of an ego source for them. Like, well, I know the truth and nobody else does. It's interesting to me from a psychological perspective that so many people believe that, and they have conventions. And, you know, there's that famous funny meme, like, you know, there's all these flat earthers all around the globe. Like, wait, what did you just say? You know? And I haven't been to Antarctica myself, but I just would think that if there is some ice shelf that is the end of Earth, we'd see some evidence of that. Everybody's got an iPhone in their pocket. You know, there's ships that go all around the world. I don't think, you know, I don't give it very much credence. But I am fascinated by people who would believe that. And you know how it is with those people. They dedicate, just like UFO people, or just like they dedicate their whole lives to that. They're the Q people who dedicated their whole lives to Q nonsense, you know?
Yeah, I've had a guy named David Weiss on the show who does it full time. He just promulgates flat Earth. I've had Eric Dubay. I'm sure you know Eric Dubay.
Yeah, I've seen some of these guys. Yeah.
You know? And no,
well, you're a better man than me. I don't think I could keep a straight face through a long interview with either of those guys, you know, because it's just, I don't know. Most of my objection to it all is that I've been in a high altitude plane and I saw the curvature of the Earth with my own eyes, you know, and for that to be true, like there would be an awful lot of cover-ups and people lying to us for all this time, including NASA, the space astronauts. But isn't it interesting that there is some weirdness with some of the NASA broadcasts that they point to, and
a lot,
something not right with some of that stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
That perpetrates conspiracy, or that propagates, the conspiracy theories, because they're not always entirely honest with us. NASA, I always call it never a straight answer.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's true. That's true. Even Buzz Aldrin said we really didn't go to the moon, and he said on that talk show that we really didn't go to the moon. And he also told a little girl, I don't know if you saw that clip, that we never.
Yeah, I've seen some of that stuff, which I thought was kind of bizarro. And I don't know. I did talk to Jay Widener, who's the guy who sort of put out that Kubrick conspiracy and all that stuff about the signs of Kubrick in the movies, acknowledging that he faked it, and that I think that we did go. In fact, I think that we went on a practice run before we did it publicly, and I think some of that stuff is weird. Like people say we can't get through the Van Allen belt. No, the truth is we can. And they just exposed those people to way too much radiation, but they decided to do it, and the people agreed that it's a risk and it's a danger, but we'll do it to make this historic mission work or whatever. But I understand why people have doubts, because essentially they sent men to the moon in like a little tin can, and it seems like extraordinary that it was able to work at all. And I have a background in computer science. That's what I do. And, the computing power they did that with is like a hand calculator has more computing power. Your phone has orders of magnitude more computing power than they used to get to the moon and back. It's amazing that worked at all.
And yet today we have AI that's super advanced compared to anything even 10, 20 years ago. And still, we haven't been able to go back to the moon. And NASA says we lost the technology, and it's a painful process to build it back up. It's like, well,
AI is its own problem. Like I've been in computer science and very interested in computers my entire life, and I've never been concerned about AI until now, because what people don't realize is that in a very short order, literally in years, there's going to be a huge problem with people losing their employment, because soon everybody that's a driver will lose their job. And that means every driver, truck drivers, delivery drivers, short haul, long haul, all drivers will lose their job soon. Very, very soon it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And people have I always thought, and maybe you have too, I don't have to worry about AI taking my job because I'm a creative, powerful person, and I'm creative. AI is not going to be able to do that. Oh, but it can, and it will, and it is now. And I'm aware of many content creators that are basically just puppets for an AI right now. They get the AI to make their thumbnails, they get the AI to write their scripts, and then they sit there and read the script from the AI. So it's already taking over creative jobs. And I see a lot of cultural and societal problems are going to be coming from AI.
Yeah, and the thing is that you're obviously a super intelligent guy, and you're very well spoken and knowledgeable. So is it that it seems to me like you really could have done a lot of things in your life, but is this what you chose, to be a content creator and speak the truth, and there's really just not a lot of money in it?
It's an interesting story. Like I was doing corporate job that I hated, and sitting in a cubicle for 12 hours a day working for other people, and my son was born, and maybe when he was 2 years old, he got a very early diagnosis of pretty severe autism, and in fact he's nonverbal. He doesn't speak, or he barely speaks, just a few words, mostly requests for food and things like that. So he needed an incredible amount of care, and somebody had to do that. And I hated my job. My wife liked her job. She made a lot more money than me. So it was just kind of a natural decision that I'd kind of become Mr. Mom and take care of our our special needs son. And I kind of gave up everything and just said, that's what I'm going to do. But you get bored sitting there with a child all day. So I started doing creative things while I was taking care of him, and the show and everything else kind of grew out of the fact that I had a lot of free time, you know?
Now, I know you're on other platforms too, but how long have you been doing your show now?
Well, this one 3 years, but for like 5 years before that, I did an audio podcast called The Midnight Hour, but that was very sporadic, and no schedule. So sometimes I would go 3 months and I wouldn't put any content out. That show, probably because of lack of consistency, wasn't very successful. You know, I always felt like I was like a voice in the wind that nobody was hearing. But moving to video, and my show is very similar to what it used to be as the audio podcast. I just added the video because of, you know, the streaming technology. I saw this is going to make it easy. And I'm sure, like a lot of creative people, I always thought, you know, it'd be fun having my own television show. And this is kind of the closest thing to that you can do right now. So that interested me. And like I said, I like to be challenged. And you know how it is. You got to be a script writer, a video editor, an artist, a graphic artist, an audio guy, a music guy to put this stuff all together. It's very challenging. And yeah. I also wrote a song recently called Right Where I Belong. And that is about what I'm doing now. I am right where I'm in my element. Like, this is so challenging and so creative to you know how it is. You got to constantly come up with ideas for shows and make them work. So I feel like I'm right where I belong. And the corporate job that I had was so stressful that, you know, I had health problems and things like that. And I don't have those health problems anymore. And my primary focus really is on my child. He's 11 now, and he's doing very well.
Good.
My primary focus is on taking care of my family, and money and the show is sort of my secondary, you know, concern or worry. But I also, besides this, I do something, computer work still. I do like managed services for small businesses that have, you know, small amount of computers. I take care of everything for some smaller companies that don't want to hire a full-time computer guy because they don't need one. You know, just simple work, just go in and maintenance, virus sweeping, whatever. So, but I'm more financially successful now than I was at a job that I hate, and I'm endlessly more creatively fulfilled. If you're a creative person and somebody sticks you in a cubicle and tells you to like crunch spreadsheets all day, it's soul crushing. It's absolutely soul crushing. I would rather be writing songs, making videos, doing something. And now I get to do that with most of my time now. I mean, I still maintain a few customers because they're very high paying clients that I've had forever. And I don't want to blow those big checks off. And they're easy customers. You know, I kind of got rid of all the customers that were aggravating, you know, but mostly, like I said, I'm right where I belong. I wouldn't want to do anything else now.
So do you make a living from the show?
Well, I always say this. We're a viewer supported show, but I separate the money from the show, and I don't use that money for any personal expenses or bills or anything like that. I have other income that covers that for me. Mostly, you know, you're at a way different level than me, so you're probably doing a lot better than me. The show is more than self-sufficient with the support that we get. And yes, we do Patreon and channel memberships and all that stuff with just some extra goodies. But most of me wants my content to be free. You know, I mean, we're monetized and we accept help because, you know, there's always expenses, software and computers and whatever. But I'm proud of that because, you know, there's a lot of shows that I kind of feel like are on the take, especially in the UFO circuit. It's usually the more believer side that push garbage, fake stories and whatever. They're making tons of money and they're living off of it. I don't really live off of my show money. I just kind of put it in the till. And if we need something, like we're building this new in-person set, so we need some furniture, some backdrops, whatever we need, just comes out of the till. And I'm tremendously blown away by the support that we get. You know, people are just so generous and want to see the show continue. So we have a lot of support, more than I ever thought I would have. I would never have thought that much money would be just like thrown at me. And some of my friends actually make fun of me. They go like, well, we can't all have a job like you, Steve, where you just go on YouTube and people throw hundreds of dollars at you. And I'm like, listen, I'm earning this money because I'm producing great stuff that people want to see more of, you know?
Yeah. You're giving value to people, you know, and they're showing you love and reciprocating with the money. And same with me. And that's the only thing that's keeping me going financially is the viewer support. So someone hits the thanks button, someone joins my Patreon.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah. And by the way, I'm not disparaging somebody that lives off of the money. I'm just saying that I'm glad that I'm fortunate enough that I don't have to do that. Like I don't have to pay my medical expenses from YouTube money or my grocery bill. You know, I'm very fortunate. My wife and I do very well outside of this. So we just, and besides, I'd rather that the show, it's sort of a wife request too. Like, don't take any money from our family money for your nonsense. Like, take it out, you know. So we always have it available here for whatever the show needs. And I'm going to be doing some traveling and things, so the show money will cover the travel expenses. Somehow, I got a full press pass and invitation from Conscious Life Expo for their next big event. So I'm going to LA for that. That'll be
interesting. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Just to say that I do use a pretty good percentage of the money I make. I put back in the show in terms of
certainly, yeah, you have
software, the computers,
the software, monthly expenses, cameras, for video editing, Creative Cloud, cameras, microphones.
If I told you, I'm probably paying 15 different apps a month.
Oh wow,
that many.
That's why I'm an open source software guy, because I hate paying. I call it, you know, rent to own software. You're renting it. You'll never own it. You have to pay every month, you know, for things like Canva or Creative Cloud or all these things. I try to find alternatives that you buy once or that is open source and free. Like a lot of people use Photoshop. I use something called GIMP Shop, which is a free alternative that has the same interface as Photoshop. So you don't have to pay for it. It's free. It's open source. You know, there are alternatives out there. The problem is that the learning curve for those things are really tough for a lot of people. They're not as simple and easy as the paid apps are, you know?
Right. Like I have some paid apps that are $10 a month, and that's not that bad. But, you know, when you have a whole
when you think that you're going to be paying that for 50 years, the next 50 years, and you add it up, it is that bad, you know?
It is.
I think so. Yeah. Well, you know, I grew up writing my own software too. So like if I needed, I'm old enough that there was a time when if I needed software and I couldn't buy it or it didn't exist, I just wrote it, you know? So, you know, from my perspective, I'm not really big on paying other people for stuff like that. And also, you know, really look into the Linux world. There's things like Ubuntu Studio that's free that you'd be amazed at what you can do with that. And it's all free. Find a spare computer that you're not really using and just put it on there and play with it. I've turned a lot of friends onto that, and they've been able to cut some of their expenses because it gets expensive, you know?
So I just don't want to spare any expense. Like I'll put whatever I have to into it, whatever I have to make it.
I get it. Yeah, I'm an all chips in kind of guy like that too, and I want to make sure that I do everything that I can to make the best stuff that I can. I'm learning new video editors now because I use a sort of weird video editor that nobody's ever heard of from Germany, but I've been using it forever. Mm-hmm. And it's great, but it doesn't have some of the more pro features. So I'm learning DaVinci Resolve and you know, trying to wean myself. But you know how it is. If you've been using the same piece of software for 20 years, you're so proficient in it and you can produce things so fast, then it's hard to go to another software and be like, how do I do this thing? I don't know how to do it. I got to look up a tutorial. I'm looking through all the menus. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I use Filmora. I started using it in 2016, and
I started learning that too, and then I decided I don't really like it, but I like the effects, so I'll drag a video into that, apply the effects, and then drag it into my other editor because I paid for it and might as well use it.
Right.
And I really like some of the free effects that it comes with for like overlays and, like scratchy video effects and distortion or whatever.
Oh, they've got a
Yeah.
ton. They've got a ton of effects, and I pay. I think it's like $25 every 3 months for all the effects. But for me, I know I could make really good videos that people love. It's just that I'm kind of forced, in a sense, to put out my content every day or every other day. In June, I made about 45 videos. I posted 45 videos in June. That's a lot. And this month, I'm probably going to hit around 25 because I was a little bit busy. So for me, I feel like because I have this problem with YouTube where they shadow ban me, I'm almost forced to put out videos all the time, or else my numbers dip so hard that.
Oh yeah, no, I'm in the same boat. I call it the YouTube hamster wheel.
That's what I call it.
If you get off that hamster wheel, you're in trouble. I took 2 weeks off last year. I was having a lot of drinking problems, and I decided I'm going to quit. I'm just going to quit drinking. And some people were very concerned that I would need medical attention. Like that's how much I was drinking. It's funny to laugh about it now. It wasn't a laughing matter at the time. Hindsight's always 2020. I'm through that situation, but I took 2 weeks off because I thought I just want to focus on myself and my health for 2 weeks and not do this for 2 weeks. And I hadn't taken any time off ever. And 2 weeks, that's all I stopped for was 2 weeks. I came back to half the views and half the live viewers. It's like my whole show got cut in half because I took 2 weeks off, but now I've kind of learned, like, if I want to take time off, I hurry up and pre-produce things. Well, not hurry up, but you know what I mean? Like, I'll do my live show, and then when I'm done the live show, I'll record an interview with somebody that I can air later when I want that day off. Yeah. It's tough. That hamster wheel is unforgiving, man.
Oh, it's got me. I've been on it now since almost 4 years. I've been running that hamster wheel because if I don't put a video out for like 4 or 5 days, my channel numbers plummet down to almost like nothing. Like barely anybody's watching. Even though I have 500 something videos up, almost nobody's watching the videos.
Yeah, there's something about that algorithm that always wants new videos, always wants new content,
But it wasn't like that before I was shadow banned. It was like I would put out a video and the video would keep going up. The numbers were great, and then once I got shadow banned, it all went to crap.
And why do you think they do that to you? Is it because you're talking about controversial subjects and they don't like that, or?
I talked mostly about simulation theory and spirituality, and then in November of 2019, I made 2 videos. I made a video about the Google D wave. Where it was summoning the demon, if you remember that guy who created D-Wave. I'm trying to think of his name. But so I don't think that was bad. But then I made a video about the secret space program, and that was the video that I know 100% shadow banned me because I got some good views on the video. It was up to like 12, 15,000 views in the first day as usual. And then it's like really weird. Like the views just completely stopped. It's almost like they just turned off the faucet and the views just stopped. And then I started putting out videos, and they, instead of getting the usual 50 to 100,000 views every video, they were going down to like 10,000. And then they kept dropping and dropping. Now I'm lucky to get to 1,000 to 1,500 views on a video.
Wow, that's weird.
I've looked at my numbers, and sometimes I'll have click-through rates as high as 12, 13%, 50, 60% retention time. I'll have And these are all videos that should go viral, those type of numbers.
You know what you ought to do is on my website, I have a mail, an email list, and people can sign up for that. And every time you produce new content, they get an email. That's one way, because people always tell you that, I don't get notifications anymore, and who knows why. So sign up for my email list, and we can, combat some of the censorship or something. That's the advice that I would give you.
I have an email list now for 2 years, and I only have 278 people on it. And I've had 278 people.
Terrible. I'm probably in the same boat. I got 10,000 almost 10,000 subscribers, and I got like 200 people on my email list. So
yeah, I don't know what it is, but I never get any new people. I've been in the same number now for a year, even though I would tell people. And I think that one of the reasons is because on that Donald Marshall video, it said that 98.5% of my views, and I can show a screenshot of this, 98.5% came from subscribed viewers. So only 1.5%, that's so abnormal. That's so abnormal. That means the only people that are watching my videos are the subscribed people. They're showing it to nobody.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Nobody. Yeah. I always say too that a good bit of advice that somebody that worked for YouTube told me is that ask your viewers every show you do, ask them to watch one more, because if people come and see one of your videos and YouTube knows that they come back and they watch one more, they turn things up because they think this guy must produce quality content because people watched one and then they came back and watched another one. I mean, whole books have been written about how to try to hack this algorithm and figure out how to get the better views and be recommended more. Who knows? It's a mystery to me, and I'm a computer science guy. I don't know how they do any of this stuff. You know?
I don't believe that you can hack it if you are shadow banned. There's nothing you can do. Once you're shadow banned and you're in that sandbox, the only way to get out of it is perhaps to change your URL. I don't even know if a new channel would help. I've tried new channels. They've gotten no views. So I'm sticking with Open Your Reality for now.
Yeah.
But do you just to, I know we're going to wrap up soon, but you're on some other platforms too. Like what other platforms are you on?
Well, right now we're on Twitch. Video-wise, we're on Twitch and Rumble, and I broadcast. Well, one of the other things that seemed to really help me is that I started broadcasting to all these locations at once. So when I do my live shows, which is usually at 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Wednesday or Monday through Thursday, we broadcast live to Twitter, to Facebook, to Rumble, to Twitch, and to Facebook Live, 2 locations on Facebook, our Truthseekers page and my personal Facebook. And then our audio goes to every audio podcast the next day. And so
do you use StreamYard for that?
Yeah. And then I just take the audio file from each show and upload it to, I use Spreaker, and it shoots it out to all the Apple iTunes and, all the podcast networks at once. And that is good because that becomes a secondary revenue stream. I mean, I'll make a couple $100 from the audio podcast a month, but it's a couple $100 that a lot of people leave on the table. And I tell everybody, no, sign up right away, because Spreaker is $20 a month and you'll get your $20 back if you do it well. You also, unfortunately, we live in this attention-based economy, and you have to really pump your stuff through Twitter, or through your Facebook, or wherever you can, and make sure that you're consistently posting stuff. Like I'm trying to do more of myself, like every day post 5 of my audio podcasts on Twitter, so that people see that. And, you're getting, with the audio podcast, you're getting paid for downloads or impressions. So, the audio podcast, I know somebody that's making $10,000 a month on just their audio podcast. It depends on what level you're at, I guess. But it's tough. This whole thing is a tough, but I don't know what I'm doing right. I just keep doing what seems to work for me,
I guess, I spoke with the 434 channel. I don't know if you know who that is, but it's a guy named Peter. And he has 60,000 subscribers, and he got shadow banned, so he's in the same position as perhaps both of us. But hope you enjoyed that little segment of me and Steven talking. We covered quite a few subjects, and I still have more in the can that I may put out here on Open Your Reality. Big thank you to all the people who have ever supported the channel. I sincerely appreciate you. Appreciate the patrons as well. You guys keep me going, and I'm here. Despite the heavy shadow ban, I'm here, and I'm going. So thank you to my 1,000 true fans, and I will see all you guys in the next video. Peace out.
What you see in me, you see the truth, see the me in me. You see enough to believe in me. You see your son, but is he in me?